Put the mic, baby, to your mouth. Yo, what's up? I'm Neo. The camera is currently focused on my wife. I don't know how I'm gonna navigate this. It's because of the shade. I've been asked before, what is happening with the focus hunting and shifting all the time? Well, it's because it's set to eye autofocus. When I take off the shades, it immediately sees my eyes. And when I put them back on, it looks for some other eyes in the frame. And given that my wife is over there, from time to time, it'll catch her. So I'm here with my wife today. I hope the audio is not rough. Let me just adjust it one more time. I'm here with my wife today, and it's sort of my intention to respond to a comment that I got from videos that I posted on TikTok. So I took some clips of my first video, the one where I spoke about respect and conquering a woman. You can't meet a woman within a month you think that she has respect for you. Respect will be the sum of her actions over time that you can actually look back on and say there's a track record. I've seen respect. It's not respect when you first meet her and she's just cordial and she hasn't shown her true side yet and she's just giving you that small courtesy, still scared on the date. No, a woman is going to disrespect you first, and that's a symptom of the spirit and the age that we are living in. Women are no longer coming standard package, humble, lowering their voice. No, women in the current time come with pre-package of a very loud mouth that says, he goes up, I'm always gonna go higher, honey. I'ma show him, I'ma show that man. It's a war against men. And now you're living with a woman who's waging an ideological feminist war, against you only. She thinks that she's an activist, for all females, and she's standing guard. Can't you know? She's just disrespecting and stepping on you and making sure that you're not feeling yourself as the man that you should feel. And so I faced that. I faced serious disrespect. I faced, serious amounts of insubordination. I faced serious levels of arrogance, serious levels of betrayal, serious levels of my name getting dragged in the mud for no reason. I'm your caregiver. I'm your lover. I stood with you and married you. Now my name is getting ruined more than anybody by my spouse. So me believing in marriage and believing in resolving issues and taking the hard road, I decided that I'm going to stick with the woman I'm with, and I'm going to teach her who I am, and I'm going to teach her how to respect me. See, I'm going to fetch every video on TikTok that I can find that speaks about disrespectful women, and I'm gonna say, hey, yo, you need to watch this. I'm gonna find every video that speaks about how, great men have lost their star and passion and they've been killed, by their spouse. And I'm going to present it and say, yo, do you remember when you met me? Do you remember how large and bulky I am? Do you now see how skinny I am? Do you remember that when we met, I had a car and now I don't have one? Do you remember I had a lot of money and I had a lot of money saved? Now I'm in debt. And I had to say, yo, you need to open up your eyes. This is what a marriage is, if you didn't know. You're now in a prison where I'm going to teach you valuable lessons, and you can't escape me as long as you're married to me. As long as you're doing what you're doing in this long-term lifeboat, I'm gonna be in this long-term lifeboat with you, pounding you with sense until you get it. And so I've conquered, ladies and gentlemen. I'm that guy. I'm that nigga. See, more than financial success. Yo, I'm so happy to have conquered a woman. And here on YouTube, it's not really doing much. The algorithm here on YouTube is not really generous, but on TikTok, I've gotten a whole lot of reactions, and I've seen that there's a lot of men who appreciate what I've spoken about, what I've brought to light. A lot of men aren't able, I guess, for whatever reasons in this time to speak. Why? Maybe because the mic has sort of been given to women. Women are speaking the most, speaking about how they feel, and men have been taught over the years to just bury it and speak about nothing. So I've had some pretty great reactions from people, but then there's been some men who kind of disagree. And one of them, here's a comment. It says, respect is something that you are taught at home by your parents, not by a man. Stop misleading, brother. See? So I came and shot my actual video and my actual experience. I'm not lying on anyone. You see? I'm a man who's actually married to an actual woman, and I've experienced situations that I've explained exactly as they are. I'm not making anything up and I'm not making claims. I've reported to you actual events that have happened. I've shared advice that has been helpful and workable for me and my situation. And there's been a whole bunch of other guys who have said, yo, I've taken your approach and it was difficult, but it has worked. There's some guys there who have said that. And there are guys who say that no, they dealt with so much disrespect in their relationship that they just couldn't bear it and they didn't feel that there's a need to teach your woman how to respect you. So I've decided, given this comment, I'll read the rest of it. Excuse me for interjecting it. I'm gonna read the rest of this comment and then I've brought my wife over here just in case people think I'm lying and that what I'm saying is just a claim, you know, that I'm making myself to be more of a man or something like that. I want to speak to my actual wife, whom in the video I'm saying that I've conquered. So if you want to know which wife I've conquered, which wife I've brought to respect, and you think that maybe I'm just blowing my trumpet or I'm lying, here's the wife right here. She'll speak for herself and you will get to reanalyze your mind if you think you've got better solutions. So respect is something that you are taught at home by your parents, not by a man. Stop misleading, brother. So he says, his name is Tools. If someone doesn't respect you, they were never taught. Then the second part of the comment says, irregardless if whether you are a man or a woman, if there is no respect in that relationship, leave. You will never be respected. Besides, respect is not a competition where you have to exchange. Give me your immediate response, when a baby. Put the mic to your lips and tell me what you think about this response. I've had it from even somebody close who hit me up direct and said, nah, and this is a woman. And she also said that she doesn't believe that it's a man's responsibility to teach his wife how to respect them. And I find that very, very, very strange given how I've had to actually teach you how to respect me. And the advice to simply leave because you're not respected just doesn't make sense for me. It doesn't make sense for an adult like me. Maybe it makes sense for you, but I have kids with my wife. I love my wife. You see, I've invested a lot and I have a serious interest. You see, people would say, yeah, is this whole investing a lot thing? And so now you're sort of chasing an investment of yours. You're held by it. I'm not gonna lie about that. That's what being an adult male, married to a woman and having kids with her does. That's the situation that it puts you in. When you're invested, it's your investment. It's your property. You have an interest in it being well. So me being disrespected by my wife when she was disrespectful, simply leaving, I just didn't understand how that advice works. So baby, you tell me. There are men who say women should not be taught how to respect and they should just come pre-packaged, solid as mature wives. When you meet a woman and she's 22, her father or her mother should have been teaching her how to be a wife all along. And when she's 22, she'll actually know how to be a wife. As a wife for 5 years, do you think that there's a 22-year-old wife out there who's never had a husband, who's been taught respect for a man without ever having had a man?
The logic or the analogy, it's pretty, I don't want to say in denial. There's spots of ignorance in it because number one is that there are young girls who grow up in pretty healthy, lovable families where they see respect as an act in their home and they reciprocate that kind of respect when they go outside. And there's other girls, or it could be even boys, they don't see that kind of an act and they don't know how to actually now act in that kind of a manner when they're outside the world or when they start having relations with people.
So you are saying, indeed, in this black society that we're living in, there are messed up families.
Yes, there is a lot of broken families.
This expectation of girls coming out perfect or men coming out perfect, it's a delusion.
Yes, there is practical part of it.
It's good to have it, but it's not our reality.
It's not the reality as it is. And it's not as simple as people think it actually is. It's very easy for you to say out a statement, but when you actually unpack the reality of the statement or what you're saying, you find out that the reality of the lives that are being lived by people, simply opposes the analogy that you have. Because disrespect
people actually
in marriage,
come out more screwed up because of our society that we are sort of raising up. Because you must remember, there's black pride behind this. So these are people who believe that their culture,
Yes.
is a high moral standard. And of course, it's a good thing to raise children and prepare them for marriage. Even the Bible prescribes that we should do so.
Yes. But
right?
remember now, the other problem is that we're living in a world where ideologies are completely clashing with one another. Other people, when they see respect, they see the kind of respect that is suppression towards women, where they've seen it from their own families and everything like that. And when they see that kind of submission, where a person was suppressed into submission, not because they wanted to be submissive by their own choice and willingness.
Oh, so is that interpretation
of the culture and the tradition that we live in as Black people? We cannot be in denial of that. We've seen our grandmothers and our mothers and everything like that being totally suppressed into submission, not because they do really understand what submission is in their marriage, but they've been taught by other previous elders that this is how you handle yourself in a relationship. Whether a man does this or whatever, you just have to respect everything.
So this version of respect that is being expected here is one where a daughter should have watched their mother be suppressed, and then when they arrive,
and
they
then
should
you just have to
arrive,
reciprocate the same thing.
do the same thing that they saw their mothers
people
did.
have. Yes, people also tend to do that in acts of love, saying that I've seen my father love my mother in this particular way, or daughters say that if you're not going to meet the expectations that I saw my father meet for my mother, then I cannot be the man that I'll marry, which is a total fairy tale that you'd expect your husband to be like your father. People who are married, they should be able to call out these things, that it's not appropriate for a person to have such expectations in your marriage. It's okay to aspire to have a man who's like your dad, but do not have an entitlement or a high degree of expectation that you may think that if a person is not your father, then you're not marrying them.
Okay, so let's be a bit more practical, Wena Baby, because if you don't know by now, my brand and what I'm about is realism. You see, there's a whole lot of niche YouTube creators who are talking about specific subjects just for the algorithm or just for the sake of the topic. But I've been wanting to have and build a personal brand, a brand of realness. So as I say, I've got nothing to hide. What I've spoken about in my video is my actual life, and I've got an actual wife right here. So let's test what the brother says there against a real marriage, for example.
Our reality, of course.
Let's check. Wena Baby, where would you have been taught respect according to this guy?
So according to this guy, it totally...
And according to this guy, every child should have a father. Ne?
Yeah, that's why his analogy or his...
And that's not a reality either. Because he expects that every girl should have had a father and they should have learned respect from the father. So in this case, you had no father in your life.
Yes, I had
no father. And where does he expect that relation?
Nor did I have any male figure that would mentor me into certain things to understand, right? And I grew up with a parent who was very independent, so you didn't understand that my mother adapted very quickly to the Miss Independent ideology, and then she fed me that, of course, out of her own, what she consumed, she thought it would be good for me to also consume, only to find that I wanted different things in life. So now it's going to clash with what I've been taught, right? So with my experience, I got to realize later when we got married, because when we were dating, these things were not very, because we're still dating, we're not living together, we're not totally exposed to one another, we're not binded in one flesh. But now after we got married and we moved in together, now we're living together, now my character is starting to show, the ways of my upbringing are starting to show up, then that's where the real flame started to hit everything, right? So in my circumstance then, the logic that he has and the analogy that he has, it doesn't apply to me, and it will never apply to any girl, or any girl who was raised by a single mother, not unless that single mother knew the right values and the right morals of understanding how to respect a man and everything like that, and she taught their daughters that. But for me, it wasn't like that. So for a person to completely expect that of me, if even right now you are my husband and you are saying such a thing to me, I'll completely say that you're probably being ridiculous, because you're expecting manna from heaven that you've never really worked for, right? Because Nalu, we've invested in our marriage, and we're wanting for our marriage to work out with certain expectations that we are allowing for ourselves to be sacrifices. So people out there, they expect for your partner to know how to love you. If your partner does not know how to love you at first, right?
Yes.
You can teach them how to love you. Psychology encourages such things.
They say you should
Marriage,
just know.
no, you can never know.
In the same
From
way that
where?
they're expecting,
Is
you
there
should just
manual
have a
on
father
how-
to have taught you. And they
No.
don't have an answer to say, all right, what if the reality was not so? These kind of
Exactly.
people get stuck because
That
they
is
have
exactly
a one-track
true.
solution.
No.
They say, hey, if it's not working out, you
Just
break up.
leave.
And you know what I think, ne? I think that this brother is when he says that I'm capping or I'm wrong or misleading by saying what I'm saying, I think when you read the comments, there's many comments. It's not just his, and I don't take any real issue with his comment. I'm not angry at it. I
Yeah,
just
it's
felt
just an
to respond
interesting
to
one,
it.
yeah.
It's a very interesting one. If you look at the many other comments in there are men who share their actual experiences,
able to
as I've
relate,
said, right?
yes.
And they're able to relate very well with what I've said. Ne?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have been actually honest enough and
Yes.
open enough to say that in my actual experience,
I haven't had the
faced disrespect,
capability.
ne? And I was not able to hold on to that
Yes.
marriage. I left it.
Yes.
This brother here sounds like another statistic like that, and maybe his comment should have arrived like that. He should have come in and say, hey, dude, you're talking about your real life. Here's my real life experience. Instead of giving us some abstract advice that has no place here on earth, that is only practical on the moon, where all girls have their fathers and their mothers, where every parent is moral and sane and following
Yeah,
God's prescripts and
unfortunately,
teaching
that
them
is
to their
not.
kids. That's not here. That's not where we are. So this brother should have said, hey, I am one of those people who actually left. I'm giving you this advice to say that you should leave because I left. And that
No.
would make you in the category of people who failed in their marriage. Unfortunately so. It wouldn't be a good
and
thing,
one
but
thing-
it's a failure.
One thing that people sometimes they don't understand is that for me, right, and I think for the both of us, people would have said, "Why didn't you just guys break up or everything like that?" When
Yeah,
you,
why didn't I
when-
just leave you?
Exactly.
You're my wife.
But besides the question, besides the answer, you are my wife. When you are solemnly investing in a relationship for it to actually
Investing.
succeed,
Yes.
right? And an investment comes with risk and everything like that. So as relationships and everything like that. So because we are living in a society where there's no knowledge and education on how we actually tackle relationships and everything like that,
Yes.
people always look at relationships as two-way streets. You're in or out. No one ever says that I'm going to fight for my marriage. I'm going to try to make my marriage work. Even through the struggles, even through the storms, I'm going to try to make it work because I'm not doing it for myself. I'm also doing it for the kids and everything like that. But you'd find out people saying that, but now you're going to raise kids in a very toxic society. Toxicity is not something that we say that people should live in. But knowing you, where we come from, because we've been together for 13 years now, right? So knowing you and where we are coming from, you knew probably the kind of person that I am. I knew the kind of person that you were.
Yes.
And there are always seasons in our lives and in our relationships where we go up and down. So for me to just decide, or for you to just decide that you're going to up and leave because we're in a very bad season, I think that shows it shows a character trait of people who are not really fully full knowledge about
I wonder
what
if he
does
has
it take
kids.
to build a family.
I
you
wonder,
see.
listen, here's another thing. If this guy, I asked him in the comments, that's the question that I posed to him to say, before I respond to you, let me find out, are you a married man or are you with a girlfriend? Next that I want to know is whether you have kids or not. If you've actually taken your advice and you've left your relationship where you had kids, right? It could be for good reason. That's fine, man. I'm not trying to debate you on anything. I'm just trying to take you on your word. I'm just trying to take you on exactly what you're saying. If you're a man and probably my age, you probably have kids. Ne? And if you are holding to that advice, it's probably advice that you've used.
Yes.
And if you've used that advice, then your kids are currently being raised by another man and they are not going to be those ideal women
Exactly.
and men for the partner that
you
they meet.
think exactly. Yes.
So what does that mean?
Because one thing is that the society that we live in, right?
Yes.
It's very important to find the right ideology that you're actually going to stick to and go with that, so that you're not in the limbo, so that you're not confused about what is it that you actually believe. right? It's something that we got to find out recently as we're overcoming our marital problems, that okay, the reason why we struggled so much, it is because there are 3 types of marriages in this world that we're living in.
Yes.
The traditional marriage is the contemporary marriage, and there's the kingdom marriage. And all of those types of marriages, there's rules that are applicable to making those marriages work. And a lot of couples and a lot of marriages that end up being destroyed, it is because they're trying to mix and match every culture, everything in one
Trying to
thing.
mix Christ's way of marriage
With
a
culture,
cultural
with
way,
traditional,
with the
with
podcast,
contemporary.
and
Exactly.
Tate,
Yes,
and
you're
TikTok
tryna-
marriages.
Good, now you find yourself with your own partner confused in your
Yes.
own home. Because there isn't one voice that you guys are heeding to. There's many voices that you guys are hearing. And if you're to just stick to one voice and say, this is the voice that I'm going to follow, it's either I'm going to live in a very traditional marriage and I'm going to fully comply with that traditional marriage. It's either I'm going to live in a contemporary marriage and then I'm going to fully comply in a contemporary marriage. And what I found very interesting about the guy who was actually giving that talk, Kingsley Okonkwo, is that he mentioned that traditional marriages are marriages where women are suppressed.
The women are slaves. That's a
Yes.
traditional marriage.
And contemporary marriages,
One
it's
man takes
where-
multiple wives, multiple slaves.
And then contemporary marriages is where men are now being suppressed, which is true.
Which is marriages in the feminist movement in the
Yes.
modern time where
Where
women
we
have
want
the mic
equality
and
and
men have to
everything.
go sit in the stadiums and the
Yes.
jails.
Exactly. And there's a kingdom marriage where in that kind of a marriage, God seeks for everyone to be equal and to be treated equally. So God's advice
For
in
both
that
to
marriage,
contribute.
exactly, we serve one another. There is
Yes.
no that the other one is the higher than the other one, because now you find married women who are saying that they are the queen
Yes.
in their marriages.
The man must just do everything.
Exactly. Then in traditional marriages, you find where the
man
guys are
is the
saying
king.
the king. So there's that confusion.
And the
So-
woman is an object.
exactly. So if you're able to understand those kind of things, then you'd be able to really unpack such logic and analogy where people are just saying a woman must just have respect from where?
Let me
Because if
ask
that
you
were
this, Sonape.
true,
Let me bring it here. Ne? We're bringing it to real life. We're not theorizing and philosophizing and giving people advice that is neither here nor there. I want to ask you, and we'll kind of wrap it up. Maybe we'll do more videos reacting to these comments, etc. I want to know from you, what was your problem with respect? How did I teach you respect? I say that I've won, I've conquered you. From your side, this conquering that has happened to you, that I'm claiming, what
I
is
think-
it? How has it been?
number one,
Is
I'll
it
say
true? Am I
this.
lying?
No, you're not lying. Number one, I'll say this. People are triggered by the word conquering. So they run with the word, right? Because when you actually look at the dictionary description of what conquering is, conquerors were people who would come into land and everything like that.
Yeah, conquest, crusaders, they had
Yes.
swords.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
people are actually triggered by that word.
So
And it's
conquering for
probably
them is not by logic.
by
There's
logic,
no
not by
conquering
choice.
somebody by logic.
Yes.
Not by convincing someone.
It's probably coercion or anything
It's
like
coercion or force.
that. Yes. So in
Have
our
I forced you?
circumstance, no, you haven't forced me.
Yes,
In
love.
our circumstance, Onapebaka, having grown up in a family where I didn't have a father, my mother was not married, so there was no way I learned what respect is. And when I look at my upbringing and the kind of people or the voices that were within my circle, my environment, there were voices that taught me Miss Independence kind of ideology, contemporary. So, the ideal fairy tale that I had in my mind when I met you was that I'm going to get married and we're probably going to have a contemporary marriage because of where I was coming from and what I was fed.
So
'Cause
I was to
fed-
be a provider, do
Yes,
all
do all and treat me like a queen and everything like that.
I keep
So
proving
you must-
myself to you.
Yes, you must chase me and everything like
I
that.
take
so,
you to school, you work, you earn the money, it's all yours.
yes, but what is yours is ours and everything like that.
Yeah.
I probably was a girl who actually fell into those shoes. But now when we got married and years went by and by, it started being problematic because that is not the kind of marriage that you want and everything
It's not a
like
humane
that.
marriage.
Yes, there's no equality in there. There's no serving in that kind of a marriage. It's just taker. There's just only a giver and a taker. A giver, it's a transaction.
Yes.
It's an endless transaction, and it's very inhumane to want to have such expectations. So I had to really come to a point, Moloring, I need to heed to your authority. Not coercively so, but at first it was the conviction of God in my life, given my experiences. I had to understand that there's a God who created me, and if I'm a creation, it means that I belong to a higher authority. And as I actually delved into that, I then now got to understand God's true design order of what he wanted or what he wants for humanity.
Which is what?
Which is that it's God, then it will be Jesus, right? Then after that is man, then it's woman
A male.
and female. Yeah, when I say man, I mean a male. And then after that it's female, and then it's family. That's the true design of God, right?
Yes.
And if you don't want to get confused, I started to now want to intentionally research more about what is really respect, what is really submission, because I could see that, okay, I'm literally sabotaging my own marriage that I'm living in because of certain ideologies that I still stick by, but they're not really working for me. You see, I'm in a marriage, but I still want to behave like an individual. I'm in a marriage, but I still want to behave like I'm a Miss Independent. I'm in a marriage. There was a contradiction in my life at every point in time. So I wouldn't say that you actually forced me into that. And yeah, people are very triggered by conquering, but to put it appropriately is that you taught me how to respect you, and you taught me through the voice of God, not just wanting to suppress me.
Yes.
So even right now in our marriage, I'm not the kind of woman where my husband just tramples over me. No, we have a very mutual understanding. When I don't like certain things, he knows. When I'm angry or annoyed, he knows, just in a respectful manner. That's
Yes.
what we are calling out for. Because people, when you say that to them, you've conquered a woman, everything, like your voice is now suppressed. No, my voice is not suppressed. I just had to learn how to make my voice heard. In a respectable way.
All right. I think that's enough for now. There's a lot to respond to. I just felt like coming out and doing this video. Having put out those first two, I knew that these would be controversial. For you audience member out there, this could just be YouTube. You're browsing through and you came across a guy ranting. But for me, it's been much deeper than that. As I said in the video, I'm trying to release myself from some bondage. So that bondage has eyes. That bondage has ears. When you go out and you're declaring to the world that you are free, your captors, the chains that were on your feet, they start to now want to move towards your feet again. So in philosophy, I think it is, there's a measuring of how life happens. And life firstly starts with an idea. And I'm not talking about the creation of life or its origins or anything. I'm just saying how life normally operates, how things happen. There's the beginning of a happening starts with somebody having an idea to do something. So they say, I'm going to move from point A to point B. And then life being life being alive, life having eyes, you living in a place where there's other people who have their own motives about your life, who have opinions about your life. You must expect that the moment you start walking from point A towards point B, somebody's going to come and say, hey, what do you think you're doing? Where do you think you're going? So that is called the antithesis. There's the wind that is hitting the windscreen of a car as the car is trying to go forward. There are these circumstances that suddenly oppose a moving object. It's nature. It just happens. And now, when the moving thing and what is countering it meet each other, there's now what is called the synthesis. So which is the end result. So me, having posted my first video and knowing how life operates, I knew there was an action that I'm making, and so there was going to be a reaction. And so I needed to wait a little bit and see what reactions my videos trigger, what people nearby gonna say about what I have to say about my own life. So that's been the delay between that second video and this third one. I just needed to see out some things in real life that are actually happening, things that are truly being triggered and they're starting to manifest in people, and to receive as many comments as possible to understand that whether this is a good initiative or it's a messed up one. And so far, it has been good results with those bad apples here and there. But this show is not theirs. They're going to have to go start their own YouTube and preach their own gospel about how you ought to just leave a woman if she's disrespectful, how you should not teach her anything. The antithesis itself can go and start a YouTube and preach that. me, the thesis, me, the idea, me, the intention to move from here to here. I'm not going to be stopped by anyone. And these videos are just going to keep on coming. Baby, we are out of here, ne?
Yeah, and just
Shala.